Queen Vila stood at the tall window of her palace and watched the human ship land on her world. The ship was small and gray. It looked old and tired compared to the golden vessels of her empire. She felt a small pain in her heart. This was not what she had hoped for. The war between the Empire and the Dominion had lasted for 60 years. Her people were tired. Her soldiers were dying. The humans had offered help, but they wanted something in return. They wanted a marriage between their worlds, a bond of blood and promise. Vila had agreed. She was a queen first and a woman second. If marriage could save her people, she would do it. But now, watching that small, ugly ship, she wondered what kind of man Earth had sent her. Her advisor, a tall male named, stood beside her. His blue skin glowed soft in the morning light. "The human delegate has arrived, my queen. Shall I bring him to the throne room?" "Yes," Vila said. "Let us see what Earth thinks is worthy of a queen." She walked to her throne and sat down. Her silver dress flowed around her like water. Her 4 eyes, purple and bright, watched the great doors at the end of the hall. Around her stood 20 of her best guards. Their armor was black and their weapons were sharp. They stood still like statues. The doors opened. A single human walked in. He was not what Vila expected. He was not tall. He was not covered in muscles. He did not wear armor or carry weapons. He wore simple gray clothes that looked soft and comfortable. His hair was black and cut short. His skin was a warm brown color. His eyes were dark and calm. He walked slowly toward the throne. His steps were quiet. He did not look at the guards or the gold walls or the high ceiling. He only looked at her. When he reached the bottom of the steps, he stopped. Then he did something strange. He bent his body forward in a deep bow. His head went low. He stayed like that for a long moment. "My name is," he said in a soft voice. "I come from Earth. I am honored to meet you, Queen Vila." Vila stared at him. In the Empire, strength was everything. Leaders stood tall. They spoke loud. They showed their power in every move. This human did none of those things. "Rise," she said. Stood up straight. He smiled a small smile. It was a gentle smile, like the kind a person gives to a child or a small animal. Vila felt anger rise in her chest. Did Earth think so little of her? Did they send this soft, quiet man as an insult? "You are the one Earth chose for me?" she asked. Her voice was cold. "Yes, my queen," said. He did not seem hurt by her tone. "I know I am not what you expected. I am sorry for that." "What are you?" Vila asked. "A scholar, a poet, a farmer." "I was a gardener," said. "Before I came here, I grew flowers and vegetables. I like working with my hands in the soil. It brings me peace." A gardener. Earth had sent her a gardener. Made a small sound beside her. She knew what he was thinking. This was a disaster. The Dominion would hear about this. They would laugh. They would see it as weakness. But Vila was a queen. She had made a promise. She would keep it. "Very well," she said. "The wedding will happen in 3 days. You will be given rooms in the east wing of the palace. My servants will help you prepare." Bowed again. "Thank you, my queen. I will try my best to be a good husband to you." He said it simply, like he was making a promise about fixing a broken door or washing dishes. There was no pride in his voice, no ambition, no hunger for power. Vila did not know what to think. The next 3 days passed quickly. Vila was busy with the wedding plans. She did not see much of during this time, but she heard about him from her servants. They told her he woke up early every morning. He walked in the palace gardens alone. He sat by the fountains and watched the water. He helped the garden workers plant new flowers. He carried heavy bags of soil without being asked. "He is very polite," one servant told Vila. "He always says thank you. He always bows. He remembered my name after I told him only once." "He is weak," said later. "Look at him. He has no fire in his eyes, no strength in his body that will eat him alive." Vila watched from her window. He was kneeling in the garden, his hands deep in the dark soil. He was planting something small and green. His face was peaceful, happy even. She felt pity for him. He was so far from his home, so alone on a strange world with strange people, and he spent his time playing in the dirt like a child. The wedding day came. The ceremony was beautiful and grand. Thousands of citizens watched as their queen married the human. Vila wore a dress of pure white light, wore a simple black suit. When the priest asked if he would honor and protect the queen, said yes. His voice was steady and clear. He meant it. Vila could tell. But meaning something and being able to do it were two different things. That night after the guests had gone, Vila sat alone with her new husband. They were in her private chambers. The room was large and filled with soft light. "I know you did not want this," said. He sat across from her, his hands folded in his lap. "I know you see me as weak. You are probably right." Vila was surprised by his honesty. "Then why did you agree to come?" "Because Earth asked me to," said, "and because I thought maybe I could help, not with fighting or politics, but in small ways, by being kind, by listening, by planting flowers." Vila shook her head. "The Dominion will not be stopped by flowers." "No," agreed, "they will not." He looked out the window at the stars. His face was sad but accepting, like a man who knew the world was hard but chose to be soft anyway. Vila did not understand him. She did not understand Earth, but she was stuck with him now. She only hoped he would not get them both killed. 2 months passed since the wedding. Life in the palace found a strange rhythm. Vila ruled her empire during the day. She met with generals. She read reports. She made hard decisions. And through it all, her human husband stayed in the background like a shadow. Never complained. He never asked for power or respect. He spent his mornings in the garden, his afternoons reading in the library, and his evenings walking the palace grounds. Sometimes Vila saw him talking with servants and guards. He seemed to know all their names now. The people did not know what to think of him. Some laughed at him behind his back. They called him the soft human or the garden prince. Others were curious about him. A few even liked him. Vila tried not to think about him too much. She had bigger problems. The Dominion was moving. General Koraz stood before her throne, his face dark with worry. He was her best commander, a warrior who had fought in 100 battles. When he looked worried, Vila felt afraid. "They are gathering ships at the border," Koraz said. 50 warships, maybe more. Our spies say they will attack within the month." Vila gripped the arms of her throne. "Can we stop them?" "We can fight them," Koraz said. "But stopping them, I do not know. They are strong. We are tired. This war has taken too much from us." "What do they want?" Vila asked. "After 60 years, what could they possibly want that they have not already taken?" "They want everything," Koraz said. "They want your throne, your planet, your people as slaves. They do not make peace. They only make graves." Vila closed her eyes. She had known this day would come. The marriage was supposed to bring Earth into the fight, but Earth was far away. Their ships were slow. Help would take months to arrive. "Prepare our defenses," Vila said. "Call back all ships from the outer colonies. We will make our stand here." Koraz bowed and left. Vila sat alone in the throne room for a long time. The weight of her crown felt heavier than ever. She thought about her people, her soldiers, the children who would never grow up if the one. "You look tired." She looked up, stood at the side door. He held a cup of tea in his hands. "You should not be here," Vila said. "This is the throne room. Only officials are allowed." "I am your husband," said with a small smile. "Does that not make me official?" Despite everything, Vila almost laughed, almost. Walked up the steps and held out the cup. "I made this myself. It is a drink from Earth. We call it green tea. It helps when you are stressed." Vila took the cup. The liquid inside was pale green and smelled like grass and flowers. She took a small sip. It was bitter but somehow calming. "Thank you," she said. sat on the steps below her throne. He did not ask permission. He just sat there looking out at the empty hall. "I heard what the general said," he told her, "about the—" "You were listening." "The walls in this palace are thin," said, "and I have good ears." Vila did not know whether to be angry or impressed. "Then you know we may all die soon." "Yes," said, "I know." He did not seem scared. His face was the same as always, calm, peaceful, like a lake without wind. "Does death not frighten you?" Vila asked. Thought about this for a moment. Death comes for everyone. Being scared of it does not stop it. I would rather spend my last days planting flowers than shaking with fear. "Flowers will not save us," Vila said. Her voice was harder than she meant it to be. "No," agreed. "They will not, but maybe I can help in other ways." Vila looked at him. "What do you mean?" "Let me come to your war meetings," said. "Let me listen. Maybe I will see something your generals do not." Vila almost said no. What could a gardener know about war? But something in his eyes stopped her. There was a depth there she had not noticed before. A weight. "Fine," she said, "but you will only listen. You will not speak unless I ask you to." "Of course," said he, bowed his head. "Thank you, my queen." The next day sat in the corner of the war room while Vila met with her generals. He did not move. He did not speak. He just watched and listened. General Koras presented maps of the border. Admiral talked about ship formations. Commander discussed ground defenses. They argued about strategy. They shouted about resources. They blamed each other for past failures. Through it all, sat still. His dark eyes moved from face to face. He seemed to be studying them like a man studying insects. After the meeting, Vila found him in the garden. He was watering flowers with a small can. "What did you think?" she asked. "Your generals are smart," said. "They know their jobs, but they are scared. Scared people make mistakes." "Are you not scared?" Poured water on a small blue flower. "I told you, fear does not help." "Then what does help?" Vila asked. She was getting frustrated with his calm answers. Looked at her. For a moment something flashed in his eyes, something cold and hard. It was there and gone so fast that Vila thought she imagined it. "Patience," he said, "and knowing when to strike." That night Vila could not sleep. She kept thinking about that flash in his eyes. It was not the look of a gardener. It was the look of something else, something dangerous. But that was crazy, was soft, gentle. He spent his days playing in dirt and making tea. He bowed to servants and smiled at children. He was harmless. Was he not? Vila turned over in her bed and tried to push the thoughts away. She had a war to fight. She did not have time to worry about her strange human husband. But somewhere deep in her mind, a small voice whispered, "What if you are wrong about him? What if everyone is?" She fell asleep with that question burning in her thoughts, and in the garden below stood alone in the moonlight. He was not smiling anymore. His face was hard and still. His eyes looked up at the stars, toward the direction of the border. His hands, which had spent months holding flowers and soil, slowly curled into fists. Something was coming, and the gardener was ready. The summit was supposed to bring hope. Leaders from 5 allied worlds came to discuss the threat. They filled the great hall of the palace with color and noise. Blue-skinned nobles stood beside green-scaled merchants. Tall gray warriors shared drinks with small furry diplomats. Vila moved through the crowd like a silver ghost. She smiled. She shook hands. She made promises she hoped she could keep. All around her, guards stood watch. 50 of her best soldiers. Nothing could go wrong. Stayed near the back of the hall. He wore his usual simple clothes. He held a glass of water that he never drank. His eyes moved constantly, watching faces, watching doors, watching shadows. "Your husband looks nervous," Admiral said to Vila. "Is he afraid of crowds?" "He is afraid of everything," Vila said. "Pay him no mind." But she watched too. Something about him was different tonight. He was more still than usual, more alert, like an animal that smelled danger. The night went on. Speeches were given. Toasts were made. Slowly, the hall began to empty as guests grew tired and returned to their rooms. Vila was saying goodbye to the ambassador when she saw him move. He crossed the hall with quick steps. His eyes were locked on a group of servants near the kitchen door. "What is he doing?" asked. Vila did not answer, she just watched. Reached the servants, he said something to them. One servant turned to face him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the servant pulled a knife. Everything happened at once. The servant slashed at. Two more servants pulled weapons from under their clothes. Across the hall, more attackers appeared. They came from doors and windows and shadows. 10, 20, 30 of them. They were not servants, they were assassins. "Protect the queen," someone screamed. Guards rushed forward. Guests ran for cover. The hall filled with shouts and the sound of metal hitting metal. Vila pulled her own blade from her belt. A queen was trained to fight. She would not hide while her people died. But before she could move, she saw something that stopped her cold. The gardener who spent his days in the dirt. The soft human who bowed to everyone. The man she thought was weak. He was dancing. That was the only word for it. He moved through the assassins like water through rocks. His body twisted and turned. His hands were blurs. Every move was perfect. Every strike was deadly. The first assassin fell before he could use his knife, had hit him somewhere in the neck. The second assassin swung a sword, stepped aside, took the sword from his hands and used it to block an attack from behind. Then he spun and cut down both attackers in one smooth motion. Vila could not breathe, she could not think, she could only watch. Was not fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like a storm, like a force of nature. There was no anger in his face, no fear, just cold, perfect focus. 3 assassins rushed him together, dropped low, swept the legs of the first, drove an elbow into the chest of the second, and caught the third by the throat. He lifted the assassin off the ground with one hand and threw him into 2 more attackers. The whole fight took seconds, but in those seconds had already taken down 8 enemies. Across the hall, Vila saw more assassins heading for her. Her guards were fighting hard, but they were outnumbered. The attackers were getting closer. Then was there. He appeared in front of Vila like a ghost. His stolen sword was red with blood. His breath was not even heavy. "Stay behind me," he said. His voice was different now, hard and cold like iron. "Who are you?" Vila whispered. Did not answer. He just moved forward to meet the attackers. The next few minutes were a blur of violence. Vila had seen many battles. She had watched her best generals fight. None of them moved like. He did not waste a single motion. Every step, every strike, every breath had purpose. He broke an assassin's arm with a twist of his wrist. He threw a knife he had picked up and hit a target across the room. He used one attacker as a shield against another. He fought with swords, with hands, with anything he could grab. By the time it was over, 12 assassins lay on the floor around him. None of them were moving. The hall fell silent. Guards and guests stared at with wide eyes. Even the wounded forgot their pain as they watched the human stand among the bodies. Turned to face Vila. His face was still calm, but his eyes were different now. They held a weight that she had only glimpsed before, the weight of a man who had seen too much death. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "No," Vila managed to say. "I am not hurt." "Good." Dropped his sword. It hit the floor with a loud clang. Then he walked over to a fallen chair, set it upright, and sat down. He put his head in his hands. For a long moment, no one spoke. General Koraz was the first to find his voice. What are you?" "Did not look up. I am a gardener." "Gardeners do not fight like that," Koraz said. "Gardeners do not kill 12 assassins with their bare hands." "I was not always a gardener," said quietly. Vila walked toward him. Her legs felt weak. Her mind was spinning. The man she had thought was weak. He had just saved her life. He had saved everyone in this room. "Why did you hide this?" she asked. "Why did you pretend to be harmless?" Finally looked up. His dark eyes met hers. There was pain in them, old pain, deep pain. "Because I wanted to be harmless," he said. "I was tired of being the other thing. I thought maybe on a new world far from Earth, I could just be a man who grows flowers." "But you are not just a man," Vila said. "No," agreed, "I am not." He stood up slowly. Blood stained his simple clothes. His hands were shaking now just a little. "I am sorry you had to see that," he said. "I hoped you never would." Vila looked at the bodies on the floor, at the guards who were only alive because of this small, quiet human. "Do not be sorry," she said. "Just tell me the truth. Who were you before you were a gardener?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke two words that changed everything. "I was death." And Vila believed him. The palace was quiet after the attack. Guards moved through the halls with nervous eyes. Servants whispered in corners. Everyone was scared, but they were also curious. Who was the human? What was he? How had a simple gardener killed 12 trained assassins? Vila asked herself these questions 1,000 times. She had sent messages to Earth demanding answers. While she waited, she kept close. Not because she feared him, but because she needed to understand. 3 days after the attack, a reply came from Earth. It was not a message. It was a person, a human woman with silver hair and hard eyes. She wore a black uniform with no markings. She did not smile when she met Vila. "My name is Director," the woman said. "I lead Earth's Special Operations Division. I am here to explain." They met in Vila's private chambers, sat in the corner by the window. He did not look at Director. He stared at the garden outside like he wished he was there instead. "Tell me everything," Vila said. "No lies, no half-truths. I want to know what kind of man I married." Director nodded. She pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. Light flickered from it, forming images in the air. "The man you know as has many names," said. "To his enemies he was called the Ghost, the Shadow, the End of Wars. He has no official rank because officially he does not exist." The light showed images of battles, ships exploding in space, bases burning on alien worlds, and in every image somewhere in the shadows there was a figure, small, quiet, deadly. 30 years ago, Earth was weak," continued. "We had just discovered space travel. We met races that wanted to destroy us. We had no army, no weapons, no hope. So we made soldiers, special soldiers, trained from childhood to be perfect weapons." Vila looked at, he did not move. His face showed nothing. "Was the best of them," said. "We sent him where no army could go. He ended wars before they started. He removed threats that no one else could touch. He saved millions of lives." "By taking lives," Vila said. "Yes," agreed. "That is what he did. That is what we made him do." The light showed more images. A planet saved from invasion because one man destroyed an enemy fleet's command center. A slave rebellion that succeeded because one man killed the slavers' leaders. A peace treaty signed because one man made the alternative too frightening. "He stopped 3 interstellar conflicts alone," said. "3 wars that would have killed billions. He did it without armies, without ships, with just his hands and his mind." Vila felt cold. She had married a man who ended wars. A man who killed so many that his enemies called him death itself. "Why did he stop?" Vila asked. Was quiet for a moment. 10 years ago, he was sent to stop a rebellion on a colony world. The leaders of the rebellion were using children as shields, had to make a choice. Complete the mission or let the children live. What did he choose? "He chose the children," said. "He let the leaders escape. Then he came back to Earth and told us he was done. No more missions, no more killing. He wanted to grow flowers." Vila looked at again. His hands were gripping the windowsill so hard his knuckles were white. We argued with him, continued. We threatened him. We tried to force him back, but you cannot force a man like he is too strong, too stubborn, so we let him go. We let him become a gardener. Then why did you send him to me? Vila asked. Smiled for the first time. It was a sad smile, because he asked us to. Vila blinked. What? When we needed someone to marry, the queen came to us. He said he wanted to go. He said maybe on a new world he could start over. He could be someone else, someone good. You sent Earth's greatest weapon to be my husband, Vila said slowly. But you told me he was just a diplomat. We sent you our greatest protector, corrected. There is no human alive who could keep you safer. We just hoped you would never need to know that. The room fell silent. Vila processed everything she had heard. The man she had called weak. He was the opposite of weak. He was so strong that his strength had broken him. Leave us, Vila said to Director. The director nodded. She picked up her device and walked to the door. Before she left, she looked at. Take care of him, she said softly. He has given everything for others. He deserves some peace. Then she was gone. Vila sat in silence for a long time. The sun moved across the sky. Shadows grew and shrank. Finally spoke, Do you hate me? No, Vila said. She was surprised to find she meant it. I do not hate you. Are you afraid of me? Vila thought about this. I saw what you can do. I should be afraid. But when I look at you, I do not see a killer. I see a tired man who wants to grow flowers. Turned from the window, his eyes were wet. That is all I want. I am so tired of death. I just want to make things grow. Vila stood up and walked to him. She was a queen. She was trained to be strong and cold. But in this moment she felt something else, something warm. Then grow things, she said. Plant your flowers, make your gardens. But when danger comes, do not hide what you are. Your hands can kill, yes, but they can also protect. There is no shame in that. Looked at her for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before. He reached out and took her hand. I will protect you, he said, and your people, and this world. I will be what you need me to be. I do not need a weapon, Vila said. I need a partner. Can you be that? Smiled. It was a real smile, warm and soft like sunlight. I can try, he said. For the first time since her wedding, Vila felt hope, not because she had a killer on her side, but because she finally understood the man she had married. He was not weak, he was not harmless, he was dangerous beyond measure. But he was also kind, he was also gentle, he was also hers. And together, they would face whatever came next. The morning after Director left, Vila woke early. Light from the twin suns was just starting to fill the sky. She walked to her window and looked down at the garden. Was already there. He knelt in the soil, his hands buried in the dark earth. A small bag of seeds sat beside him. He was planting roses, red roses from earth that he had brought across the stars. Vila watched him for a long time. His movements were slow and careful. The same hands that had killed 12 assassins now held tiny seeds like precious gems. The same body that had moved like a storm now moved like a gentle breeze. She understood now. This was not an act. This was who really was. The violence was a skill, a tool he had been forced to use, but the gentleness was his true nature. He was a man who loved growing things. Death had been his job. Life was his heart. Vila dressed and went down to the garden. The air was cool and fresh. Birds from a dozen worlds sang in the trees, looked up as she approached. Good morning, he said. He smiled his soft smile. You are awake early. I wanted to see you, Vila said. She sat down on a stone bench near his flowers. I wanted to see you do this. Plant roses. Be yourself. Look down at his dirty hands. I am always myself, even when I fight. The fighting is just something I can do. It is not who I am. I know that now, Vila said. I am sorry I did not see it before. Went back to planting. His fingers pressed seeds into the soil with practiced care. You had no reason to see it. I came here as a strange man from a strange world. You had every right to judge me. I judged you wrong. Maybe, said, but you were not cruel. You gave me a home. You let me plant gardens. You treated me with respect even when you thought I was weak. That is more than many would do. Vila thought about this. It was true. But she had never been mean to him. She had never mocked him or sent him away. Perhaps some part of her had always sensed there was more to him. The will come back, Vila said. The assassins failed, but they will try again, and their fleet is still at the border. I know, said. Will you fight? Stop planting. He sat back on his heels and looked up at the sky. His face was thoughtful. I will do what is needed, he said. If they can be stopped with words, I will use words. If they can be stopped with threats, I will use threats. But if they can only be stopped with violence, he paused, then I will be violent. Does it hurt you? Vila asked, using that part of yourself. Yes, said simply. Every time, but some things are worth hurting for, your people, your world, you. Vila felt warmth spread through her chest. This man, this impossible man, was willing to break himself to protect her, not because he was ordered to, not because he wanted power, simply because he cared. We will face them together, Vila said. You and me, you are not alone anymore. Looked at her, something shifted in his eyes. A wall came down that had been there since the day he arrived. I have been alone for a very long time, he said. I had forgotten what it felt like to have someone beside me. Get used to it, Vila said. You married a queen. We do not abandon our partners. For the first time laughed. It was a real laugh, warm and full. The sound surprised Vila. She had never heard him laugh before. It was a beautiful sound. Weeks passed. Word of the failed assassination spread across the galaxy. So did stories of the human who had stopped it. The Dominion heard these stories. They sent more spies. They watched. They gathered information. And the more they learned about, the more afraid they became. This was not a weak diplomat. This was the ghost, the man who had ended wars, the man their greatest warriors had feared, and he was married to the queen. The leaders met in secret. They argued and shouted and blamed each other. Some wanted to attack anyway. Some wanted to wait, some wanted to run. In the end, they chose to retreat. The 50 warships at the border turned around and went home. They sent a message asking for peace talks. They offered to end the 60-year war. They offered to return stolen worlds. They offered everything Vila had ever wanted. When Vila told the news, he just nodded and went back to watering his roses. You are not happy? She asked. I am happy for your people, said. They will have peace. Children will grow up without war. That is worth everything. But I did not do anything, said. The retreated because of stories, because of fear, because of what I was, not because of what I did here. Vila understood, wanted to be judged by who he was now, not who he used to be. But sometimes the past casts a long shadow. You protected us, Vila said. Maybe not with your hands this time, but with your presence, with your history. You stood between us and death backed away. I just wanted to plant flowers, said. And you did, Vila said. She gestured at the garden around them. Roses bloomed red and white. Alien flowers of purple and gold grew beside them. The garden was more beautiful than it had ever been. You planted flowers, Vila continued. You made tea. You learned names. You helped servants carry heavy things. You were kind to everyone you met. And when danger came, you protected us. That is not one thing or the other. That is both. That is you. Was quiet for a long moment. He looked at his garden, his roses, the palace that had become his home, the queen who had become his friend. Maybe you are right, he said finally. Maybe I can be both things, the gardener and the storm, the gentle hand and the iron fist. You already are, Vila said. You always were, I just did not see it. She reached out and took his hand. His fingers were rough with soil but warm with life. Come, she said, walk with me. Tell me about these roses. Tell me about Earth. Tell me about the man you want to be. Smiled. It was the smile of a man who had finally found peace. Not the peace of hiding, not the peace of pretending, the peace of being seen and accepted for everything he was. The roses need sunlight and water, he said as they walked. But mostly they need patience. You cannot rush a flower. You can only give it what it needs and wait. Vila listened. She watched her husband speak about flowers with the same focus he had used in battle, and she understood at last what it meant to be human. Humans hid their storms behind quiet smiles. They planted gardens and ended wars. They were gentle and deadly, soft and strong. She had not married weakness. She had married restrained thunder. And she was grateful for every storm.